Our verse today is Matthew chapter 23, verse 5. They do all their deeds to be seen by others, for they make their phylacteries broad and their fringes long. In chapter 23 of Matthew, Jesus denounces the scribes and Pharisees for their actions. As official religious leaders and teachers of the law of Moses, they occupy a privileged position of authority among the people to teach and interpret the law, the prophets, the law and the prophets of the Old Testament. Jesus denounces them for preaching the law and doing the contrary. They do not practice what they teach. However, Jesus encourages the people to listen to what they teach. That is important for us today. We shouldn't be worried about many of our preachers and men of God. Instead, we should listen to their teaching and leave it out, even if we see them live contrary to what they teach. Each of us must work out our salvation. In our verse, Jesus says the scribes and Pharisees act for people to see them. They seek attention and human applause. We can be caught in the same trap when we do some acts of kindness or work in the church and we want everyone to notice and applaud us for what we have done. The second part of the verse tells us two ways the scribes and Pharisees show off before people. First, they make their phylacteries broad. Phylacteries were pieces of scroll parchment on which the Ten Commandments or some sentences of the law were written. Many Jews fastened them to their foreheads or tied them around their arms. They wanted to fulfill the words of the Shema, that they must love the Lord their God with all their heart, with their mind and soul. Teach it to their children. And in Deuteronomy chapter 6 verse 8, it says, "And you shall bind them as a sign on your hand, and they shall be as frontlets on your forehead." So those who tied these phylacteries around their arm or forehead were seen as very observant Jews. But loving the Lord with the heart was beyond external show. Jesus does not condemn putting on signs to remind us about loving God. Still, those signs must not be the end in themselves. It is like putting on the cross or scapula or rosary. Do we put them on to make us feel better, more spiritual than others, or draw attention to ourselves? Or do those symbols remind us of God's presence and to love God more? Second, the scribes and Pharisees make their fringes long. You could also say they make the tassels of their outer garment long. The tassels also remind people to obey the commandments. And the more visible the tassels of their garments, the more devout people appeared. This practice goes back to the commandment in Numbers and Deuteronomy. In the book of Numbers we read, "The Lord said to Moses, speak to the people of Israel and tell them to make tassels on the corners of their garments throughout their generations, and to put a cord of blue on the tassel of each corner. And it shall be a tassel for you to look at and remember all the commandments of the Lord, to do them, not to follow after your own heart and your own eyes, which you are inclined to walk after." Numbers chapter 15, 37 to 39. So you see, that again is to help them to love the Lord with their heart. What do we learn from this verse? Putting on symbols to remind us of God's presence is not bad. But when those symbols become only a show or attract attention to ourselves instead of helping us love God more, there is something wrong. Lord, help us to love you from the heart. May our religious symbols and images always direct our attention to you and increase our devotion and love for you. Amen. God bless you, and I wish you a pleasant day.